Thank you very much. Great to meet you, Lauren. Congratulations on the role. You did a fantastic job. I guess to start off, I wanted to ask you what number one drew you to the role? And then number two, what do you think makes Sienna so unique among all the final girls we've seen throughout horror history?
Well, when it comes to a strong women's character, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. Like, if I can play a character that ends up being strong, but is also really flawed and imperfect and weak at times, I am so ready to take on all of that because I think it makes it more human and it makes it more easy for audiences to connect with that character. And so that's basically why I was so drawn to the role. And I really loved the relationships she had. She had some really strong best friend relationships, as well as an interesting relationship with her brother and her mother. And I never grew up with a sibling. So it was really nice to explore that dynamic for the first time for me. And how do I think Sienna's different? I think there were definitely aspects from other Final Girls that I loved that I wanted to pay homage to through Sienna. But I think what makes Sienna a little bit different from other Final Girls is that she's willing to party a little bit more. She's willing to make those bad decisions and she's willing to like have a good time. Like Final Girls are usually very like, goody. I don't want to say goody two shoes, but they definitely they have like this air of, like they're usually like virgins and they're usually like really like just good students and stuff like that. And Sienna might be those as well, but I think she also is willing to have a good time. And I really loved that about Sienna.
I see. What surprised you most about the feedback that you've gotten so far from the movie, either from the press or from fans? What surprised you the most?
Well, I think just all the love that Sienna has gotten, I don't think I was expecting that at all. I knew that Art the Clown was such a beloved character in this franchise. So I was expecting people to be like, yeah, kill her. Like, we don't want to see her, like, kill that character. So the fact that people were rooting for Sienna was the biggest surprise for me because I really wasn't expecting that. I was expecting people to just be like, oh, we don't care about that character. But people have really taken to her. And I'm so grateful for that. And it's surprised every time it happens.
Got it. Now, one thing you may not be aware of, the first Terrifier movie, it wasn't a big criticism, but it was a pointed one. A lot of people said that they felt like it was uh, distasteful towards women, some of the kills and all that, but we haven't gotten any of that type of feedback with this movie, and I feel like you played a big part in that. What else do you think in the narrative made this more balanced as far as making sure, like you said, the female voice was heard very prominently throughout the movie and wasn't just a prop for Art to do his kills on?
Well, what I do love about Art the Clown is I don't think he discriminates. I think he will just pummel anybody in his way. Anybody on his path, he's ready to kill and he's ready to torture. But at the same time, I do think that serial killers do tend to target women. It's just kind of the way it is, unless you're Jeffrey Dahmer, which people know about now with the new series out. But yeah, most they do really, for some reason, like to target women. And I think Art imitates life for that reason. But I also think that what helps with that narrative is Sienna being able to really take the time to fight back. We kind of stay on Sienna being strong and being brave. And I think that was important for the narrative. And maybe that helped fans that weren't entirely happy with the first one become fans of this one. So yeah.
Gotcha. And it seems like you've embraced the final girl role as far as that tag without having any issues. I know some actresses are a little bit leery about that because you always have to be aware of being typecast. Once they see you in something they love, they just want that constantly. Do you have any worry about that, or do you feel like the films you selected are going to make sure that you don't have that problem going forward?
Well, I have gotten a couple scripts, a couple roles that were offered to me recently that are very different from the final girl role. And I think, and I was even speaking to my agent about this recently, I think you need to do a lot of the same stuff in order to be kind of pigeonholed in that type of, in order to be typecast. But I would, even if I was pigeonholed in a strong final girl female leading role, I don't see that as a loss at all. I'd be very happy with that. I love playing strong women. So hopefully I will continue to do that, whether that's in horror or not.
Got it, got it. Now, one thing people might have missed, there's a lot of interesting subplots in this movie that could lead to another sequel if there is one. One of the things that stood out to me, I think it was your friend Brooke's character. She mentioned what your father went through, that there was suicide, so you have kind of mental trauma that's going on in the family that could be led to in the sequel. Do you feel like you've gotten enough of Sienna's story out there, or do you feel like there needs to be more told as far as going forward with another Terrifier movie?
I personally think there should definitely be more told about Sienna, both of her past and her future, because I would love to explore more what her past has done to her mentally and how that's either made her feel weaker or stronger when taken on a demonic clown like Art, and also what has happened in Terrifier 2 will lead to in the future and how she'll handle whatever that may be, whether it's being a more maternal figure to her brother or maybe her own mental health that we'll need to explore. And I think that's all really interesting and I would love to explore that more.
Got it. And another thing, as far as like the supernatural element, it really, I won't say it came out of the blue, but it really fit to me because, I was an English major, so I remember reading Beowulf and all those other kind of like epic fantasies. And I kind of felt like we got a little bit of that towards the end. How did that play for you reading the script? Because it's like, wow, like it fit when it came in there, but it felt like you almost didn't see it coming.
That's fantastic. I was an English major as well, so
Okay.
I feel you on that. Well, I knew going in that that was going to be what Damien wanted to do because he really wanted to make a sort of Grecian epic. He loves the idea of having his hero go through trials, to go through literal hell. And I loved that as well as an English major. But I also am aware that that's not going to work for everybody. Like people might be expecting a certain type of trope when it comes to like the horror slasher, and that's totally fine. It's a very niche movie and it's none of my business and they don't like that. That's totally fine. But I do love that Damien is able to take risks and in the end he's able to and he has the bravery to tell the story he wants to tell. So I'm really excited about the supernatural aspects about it.
Got it. Got it. So this might be a strange question, but when you got to the end, did you feel like Art may have gotten off a little easy compared to what he dished out? It might be funny to say when we're dealing with dismemberment and things like that. But I know personally I wanted him to get a little bit more than what you gave him, but you did get, even though you gave him a lot, I want to know what you felt about that.
I think he deserves a lot more, and hopefully that can be explored in later installments. But I agree with you. And there have been some back and forth. People might have thought that the ending was too long. Some people thought, like you, that, oh, we wanted to see Art get more tortured because of all the crap that he's put people through. But personally, I would like to see him get it even more. So let's hope that that does happen eventually.
Got you, got you. So last question for you, it's more of a hypothetical one. So I know a lot of people, when they see the costume and everything, they're going to think Valkyrie, things like that. So you're going to get probably a lot of them, if you haven't already, superhero comparisons. You've been in Iron Fist before, so you got a little bit of a taste of that. So hypothetically, let's say DC and Marvel, their executives, they see your role, they love it. They come to you and say, hey, you can pick any character you want. You got 3 to 5 movies with them. I don't care if somebody played them before, it's yours now. Who would be your dream character to play for a superhero franchise? All you.
Whoa, that's such a big question. Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I don't even know. I've always felt really, even though it's been overplayed and Zoe Kravitz like killed it, I've always been really drawn to Catwoman. I think it's
Okay.
the darkness and again she's a flawed character and
Mhm.
I love every Catwoman that has been displayed in media. So I don't know. I feel like it doesn't need to be done because it's been done so many times, but I would love to play Catwoman. That'd be really cool.
So we'll put that in the universe. Hopefully somebody's paying attention. So before we go, just let us know what you have on the story. I know you have no more, more films coming up. So what's next on your plate for 2023?
Okay, well, one film that I can talk about that is already in post-production is The Fetus, and I played Bill Moseley's daughter, and it's, a kind of a topical film with what's been going on in society lately, but I'm very excited about that. I was really happy to work with Bill Moseley and some of the other crew and cast members, and I was recently sent some really wonderful scripts and role offers that I can't talk about, unfortunately, but I hope that they will eventually be in the works, and I will be able to talk about them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Loved you and Terrifier, and we'll definitely be paying attention to everything you do in 2023.
Thank you so much, Ismail. Thank you. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Take care, Lauren.